XRP is falling right now, and everywhere you look, people are saying the same thing. They're saying this drop is temporary. They're saying a rebound is coming. They're saying if you don't panic, if you don't sell, you might actually be standing right before one of the most important moments in this asset's entire history. But then there's another claim that keeps circulating, and it's even more dangerous if you don't question it. They say you need 10,000 XRP to be wealthy. They say that's the magic number. They say anything less doesn't matter, and today we need to slow this conversation down and actually think, because markets don't reward people who repeat slogans. They reward people who understand structure. Before we go deeper, let me say this clearly and calmly. This video is not financial advice. Nothing here is a promise, a prediction, or a guarantee. This is an educational conversation about market behavior, psychology, and how narratives are formed. If you value grounded thinking over hype, take a second to like this video and subscribe. It helps this kind of content reach people who are tired of noise and emotional pressure. Now let's talk about what's really happening. When price is falling, the human brain goes into defense mode. Loss feels stronger than gain. Red numbers trigger urgency, fear, and regret almost instantly. That's not weakness, that's biology. The market knows this, and the market uses it. Every major rebound in history looked terrifying before it happened. Every major collapse looked obviously risky only after it was over. While you're inside the moment, nothing feels clear. That's why narratives matter so much during downtrends. Right now, the narrative is split. One side says XRP is dead, outdated, and irrelevant. The other side says this drop is manipulation, a setup, a final shakeout before something big. The truth usually lives somewhere in between emotional extremes. XRP falling does not automatically mean a rebound is guaranteed, but it also does not mean failure. Price alone never tells the full story. Markets move for reasons that most people never see on the surface. Liquidity matters more than opinions. Positioning matters more than tweets. And time horizons matter more than daily candles. One of the biggest mistakes retail investors make is assuming that price reflects value in real time. It doesn't. Price reflects the most recent transaction under specific liquidity conditions. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. When price drops quickly, it often means liquidity was pulled, not that the asset suddenly became worthless. And when price rises quickly, it often means liquidity returned, not that fundamentals magically improved overnight. This is why falling markets feel unfair. They expose how little control individuals actually have in the short term. Now let's address the 10,000 XRP claim, because this is where things get emotionally charged. The idea that you need a specific number of tokens to be wealthy is not rooted in math. It's rooted in narrative psychology. Humans want certainty. They want a target. They want a number that makes the future feel controllable. 10,000 sounds clean. It sounds achievable for some and impossible for others. That contrast creates urgency and identity at the same time. And urgency is extremely powerful in markets. But wealth is not a fixed outcome tied to a fixed quantity. Wealth is contextual. It depends on time, entry, exit, personal goals, and risk tolerance. Anyone telling you there is one correct number is simplifying something that cannot be simplified honestly. Markets don't care how many tokens you hold. They care about supply, demand, and behavior. The idea that XRP must reach a specific price for holders to succeed is another mental trap. Success is not universal. Someone taking profits at a modest move can succeed. Someone holding for years can succeed. Someone trading volatility can succeed. And someone can fail doing all of those things if they act emotionally. Right now, fear is loud. Fear always gets louder when price falls. But fear alone does not create opportunity. Understanding does. Let's talk about rebounds. Rebounds happen when selling pressure exhausts itself, not when people hope harder, not when influencers get louder. Selling pressure ends when those who wanted to sell have already sold. At that point, price doesn't need good news to move up. It just needs less selling. This is why markets often rebound when sentiment is still terrible. By the time sentiment feels safe, price has already moved. Does that mean a rebound is coming right now? No one can say that honestly, but it does mean that falling price does not equal falling relevance. XRP exists in a very different category than most crypto assets. It is constantly discussed in regulatory, institutional, and infrastructure contexts. That alone separates it from purely speculative tokens. Regulation slows things down. It also filters out noise. The US financial system does not move fast. It moves deliberately. Assets that can survive scrutiny tend to outlast assets that only thrive in hype cycles. That doesn't mean XRP is guaranteed success. It means its timeline operates differently. When people panic sell, they're often reacting to short-term pain while ignoring long-term structure. When people overhold without thinking, they're reacting to hope while ignoring risk. Both extremes are emotional. Balanced thinking lives in the middle. If you're watching this and feeling pressure to buy more, pressure to sell, pressure to reach some magic number, pause. Pressure is the enemy of good decisions. Markets will still be here tomorrow. Your ability to think clearly matters more than your ability to act quickly. This is where discipline comes in. Discipline is not about never feeling emotion. It's about not letting emotion make decisions for you. XRP falling is a fact. What that fall means is still unfolding. Anyone claiming certainty about what happens next is guessing. Anyone telling you they know the future is selling confidence, not truth. If this perspective is helping you slow down and think, hit the like button. It tells the platform that rational conversations still matter. Because here's the reality most people don't want to hear. Wealth is built over time, not through single moments. It's built through consistency, learning, patience, and risk management. And markets are designed to test all four. XRP doesn't owe anyone a rebound, and no one owes the market blind loyalty. The healthiest position is awareness without attachment. As we continue, we're going to go deeper into why falling markets amplify myths, how rebound narratives are created, and how to think clearly when everyone else is shouting. And this is exactly where the story usually gets distorted, because once fear settles in, people start looking for certainty wherever they can find it. They scroll through social media, they watch clips, they listen to confident voices, and slowly a new story forms. The story says this drop is engineered. The story says weak hands are being shaken out. The story says only the patient will survive. And while parts of that story can be rooted in truth, the danger lies in how easily it becomes absolute. Markets do not move to teach lessons. They move to balance incentives. When XRP falls, it is not because the market wants to punish holders, and it is not because some invisible force is rewarding patience. It is because at that moment, selling pressure outweighs buying pressure under the current liquidity conditions. That's the mechanical truth. Everything else is interpretation layered on top. But humans don't operate mechanically. Humans operate emotionally. That's why stories form so quickly in downtrends. Stories help us cope with uncertainty. They make chaos feel meaningful. One of the most common stories during a decline is the rebound narrative. People say, this is the calm before the storm, the final dip, the last chance. Sometimes that narrative turns out to be correct. Many times it doesn't. The problem is not the idea of a rebound. The problem is attaching identity and certainty to it. Rebounds don't happen because people believe in them. They happen because conditions change. Selling pressure dries up, liquidity shifts, risk appetite returns. Those things happen quietly, often before price reflects them. By the time price moves sharply upward, the cause is already in the past. That's why watching price alone can be misleading. Price is a lagging indicator of behavior, not a leading one. Now let's talk about why the 10,000 XRP idea spreads so easily during times like this. When price falls, people instinctively want to regain control. Numbers provide that illusion. A specific amount feels actionable. It feels like a plan. It gives the brain something solid to hold on to while everything else feels uncertain. But that number did not come from economic modeling. It didn't come from a universal formula. It came from repetition. Someone said it, others repeated it. It felt reasonable enough. Over time, it started to feel true. This happens in every market cycle. A number becomes symbolic. It becomes a badge. People start measuring themselves and others against it.